Today we interpret Hermann Hesse's book Steppenwolf. This book is a representative work of Hesse's midterm work and a milestone in his creative career. At the same time, it is also a real experience of Hesse himself. It tells the story of how a middle-aged man with human nature and mental pain can complete his growth after learning to examine his inner world. In fact, in modern society, the shadow of the steppe wolf can be seen in many people. The protagonist Hermann was originally a talented and sought-after writer. His views and thoughts once radiated dazzling light, but suddenly one day, his life ushered in earth-shaking changes. In 1914, when World War I broke out, the German people fell into great fanaticism, but as a German, the Black Match made anti-war remarks at that time. Therefore, he was not only unwilling by the writers and media, but also by the state, and even his life was threatened. Like Harry, when the war is about to break out, his anti-war works have been attacked and criticized by media and writers from all sides. He himself is called a traitor by the public. For a time he lost all his childbirth and wealth, and even love and trust no longer exist. Later, his wife drove him out of the house, and those friends who had respected him disappeared. Since then, Harry has lived a wandering life, with only loneliness, contradictions and pain accompanying him. After being isolated, Harry moved away from his hometown and moved to the loft of a petty citizen apartment. To outsiders he was not sociable and was an introverted person. But in fact, Harry's dissatisfaction is because he hates the petty citizen class very much. Harry hates their satisfaction, health and comfort, and hates their carefully cultivated optimism, and the mediocre daily life of being domesticated. However, the paradox is that the place he rents outside is always in the home of the petty citizen. He likes the quiet and neat room of the petty citizen's home, and likes the polite and gentle atmosphere among people. But if you cross the clean aisle and enter Harry's room, the scene inside is completely different. The books, wine bottles, messy piles, and cigarette butts are thrown all over the floor. The room is messy and dirty. For the common people, a plain life may be happy, but for Harry, the days of repeating reading, bathing, and walking every day make him feel extremely painful, just like a middle-aged man. Although he has many dissatisfaction with life, he can't help but live a life that is neither good nor bad, lukewarm, and temporarily tolerate it and make do with it. Sometimes, Harry would think calmly whether to end his life with a razor, and sometimes a desire emerged in Harry's heart. This desire made him look forward to the emergence of strong stimulation and strong feelings, and made him angry at his current mediocre, steady, and lifeless life. Whenever this desire explodes, his heart will be like crazy to break something, or to hit himself until his nose is bruised and swollen, and even he will want to go out and disrupt the normal order of society. It is precisely because of this desire that he falls in love with alcoholism. Every time he went out, Harry pretended to be happy, but neither in the theater nor in the theater. He could not allow him to stay for a long time, because he could not understand what kind of happiness the ordinary citizens found in the crowded trains and hotels, in the cafe where customers welcomed the door, and in the noisy taverns. Compared to the secular world, he could only find real fun when reading Goethe's poems, thinking about a certain thought of Descartes, and listening to Mozart's music. But at most people in the world have only searched and loved these fun and literary works. If they were put in real life, they would think that these are just absurd things. Harry believes that if these worldly people's views are correct, these popular entertainment activities, and those who are easily pleased are right, then the wrong one is him. Therefore, he did not agree with this world of spiritual emptiness and poverty. So he thought he was a beast who had mistakenly entered a strange world, and could not find his own home and food. Harry's contradictions are actually everywhere around us, and in life most people follow the rules. When I was a child, my parents and teachers would tell you what can be done and what can't be done. For example, be a polite and good child and a good student who concentrates on studying. If you dare to resist, you will be labeled as a kind of impolite and poor student. When you grow up, society will also tell you what can be done and what can't be done. For example, at work, even though you don't like a colleague, you will still say hello when you meet you. Although you don't like drinking, you will still tell your leader when you have a meal ill to you. Of course, you can ignore them when you have just entered society, but refuse to follow the trend. It is often isolated and out of place, which is a process of being domesticated. We have the courage to do and speak, dare to make trouble, become cautious and begging for the sake of our grievances. However, in this kind of obedience and compromise, our personality consciousness will be suppressed, but it will not disappear. It may suddenly run out to examine you after you toast with your leader, making you feel hypocritical, or you may work overtime late at night. Run out and tell you how the boy who was once full of dreams has become like this now. Therefore, after Harry, who longs for consciousness independence, gradually began to become contradictory after refusing to go with the flow. On the one hand, as a humanitarian, after making anti-war remarks, he never thought that what he was waiting for would be opposed and isolated by the world. This also broke his fantasy that human nature is inherently good, because he knew the horrible consequences of war. Secondly, he was a man with ideals and pursuits. He liked the works of great men such as Goethe and Mozart. So the world he hopes is to have depth, and he can talk about philosophy and art, but reality is too far from his imagination. After the war, Europe was in chaos and spiritual emptiness. The middle class around him, that is, the petty civilians. They are all ordinary people who like to drink coffee, go to bars, and only engage in hypocritical social interactions. These people didn't care about the real philosophy and art in his mind. What's even more sad is that the spiritual world that Harry yearns for has not been realized. Because he found that he hated the world, but could not be separated from the world. Like those ordinary people, he also likes to smoke, drink heavily, and even goes to bars to find lovers to vent his desires. But every time he indulged in, he would regret and hate his behavior, which was no different from those ordinary people. However, his thoughts were more extreme, and he wanted to go to the end of the pilgrimage. At this point, he is not as smooth as the petty class. The petty class will satisfy their own selfish desires while believing in God. While pursuing spirit, you will also let your own stories be allowed. They are always seeking a compromise attitude, that is, to find a doctrine of the mean among countless extremes and oppositional thoughts. So, in this case, Harry had some personality split. Until one day, Harry got a booklet called On the Steppenwolf. In it he was inspired. Coincidentally, the protagonist of this booklet is also called Harry. He is called the Steppenwolf, and there is both humanity and wolf nature in the Steppenwolf Harry. Harry's human nature is a world full of thoughts, emotions, culture, a docile and noble character. His wolf nature represents a dark world with vulgar personalities such as desire, roughness, cruelty, and lowness. Moreover, wolf nature and human nature do not live in harmony. They are incompatible and oppose each other. For example, when Harry of human nature has a beautiful idea, when doing good things, the wolf nature on his body will mock him for his false intentions. On the contrary, when Harry is so wolfish, when you behave in a hypocritical and perverted manner than others, the human nature in him will stand up and criticize him for being very angry, to destroy his good mood, make it unable to enjoy the wild wolfish joy. Simply put, it's just that human nature wants to control wolf nature. Wolf nature wants to bite human nature to death. So most of the time, the Steppenwolf is unfortunate, because no matter what he loves, still the one who loves him, they all like only one aspect of him. Some people are elegant because of him, a smart human nature, and love him. However, once you discover the wolf nature of his body, they panic. Great disappointment. And some people will be unruly because of their unruly nature. He loves him with a rebellious wolf nature. But when they found out that Harry was kind, when the docile human nature, I will feel pain and disappointment about this again. So, Harry as a stepwolf, destined to be lonely. When young, Harry had been in financial distress, the day of shrinking food, but for freedom. He never betrayed himself for money and happiness, not willing to hold a half-time position, go and live a life that is in accordance with the rules. He knows Those who desperately pursue power will be destroyed by power. Those who pursue money desperately will be destroyed by money. Those who are used to being humble will be ruined by servitude. Those who pursue pleasure will also be destroyed by wanton enjoyment. Final. Harry was free. But at this time. But he found that such freedom came at a price. Although he will not be disturbed by anyone outside. But it has nothing to do with any kind of people and things. Such freedom represents loneliness. It also represents death. Now, freedom is no longer his wish. But fate judges him. Even if he intends to accept the constraints now, return to the crowd, there is no possibility anymore. It's not that people hate him too much. How much hate him? But no one wants to really approach him. Living with it. On the one hand, he is extremely lonely. Take the initiative to stay away from the crowd. He believes that hypocritical socialism and worldly hustle and bustle, it is a proof of mental death. But on the other hand, he also longs for someone to truly understand him. Understand him. In this contradiction, Steppenwolf Harry wants to get rid of it all by suicide. But he wanted to commit suicide and get rid of it. On the other hand, you will gain strength in life towards death. Then, this tug of war about suicide. It lasted until he was 47 years old. He had a sudden inspiration at that time. Suddenly a rather humorous idea came up. That is to make your 50th birthday a day to be sure to commit suicide. For a moment, it seems that all the worries and misfortunes can no longer bother him. Because in 2 years, Harry will say goodbye to all suffering. Get real liberation. At the end of the booklet, Harry intends to split himself into a wolf and a man with the help of desire and spirit to better understand one's own destiny. He felt that he was either going toward the pilgrimage path or addicted to desire and self-destruction. But in fact his division is wrong. Because of human nature, it is not just the two factors of desire and spirit. People are from hundreds, consists of thousands of factors. So, to truly understand yourself, Harry must see, in addition to the wolf nature in oneself, there are many other beastly natures hidden. Only by learning to let them live in peace, only then can he truly enter into immortality. The above content is Harry's contradictions and pain. Next, let's see how he was redeemed. Harry, after reading the booklet, I did not choose the pilgrimage path that analyses myself later. Because he felt the process was too painful. By comparison, he chose to end it on his 50th birthday. You can think that there are still 2 years left before that day. Harry felt that this time was still too long. One day, Harry met the man who sent him a booklet again on the street. He hurriedly stepped forward to ask, "Is there any entertainment tonight?" Although the other party is a little confused. But there is still an address called Black Eagle Tavern. Then, Harry continued to walk aimlessly on the street again. When passing through the library, he met another young professor. The two have communicated several times. Meet again. The professor invited Harry to visit his house. It seems like I feel a long-lost warmth. Harry's humanity prompted him to accept the invitation. But his wolfish nature began to laugh at him. Look how good my brother is to lie. Just 2 minutes ago, he also hates the world very much. Now others just say hello to him in an extremely ordinary way. He was moved, intoxicated by that little kindness, in respect and intimacy. Certainly. The quarrel between Harry. The young professor didn't know. Night. Harry came to the professor's house. At this time, the young professor was reading newspapers from the domestic war faction. I saw him holding the newspaper while talking to Harry. There is a politician named Harry in the newspaper. But this person is a bad guy who doesn't love his motherland. He once asked the emperor for happiness, Call your motherland the same as the enemy country. Also, take responsibility for the outbreak of war. The professor never thought that. The traitor he mentioned was Harry himself in front of him. Although Harry was depressed and desperate, but Harry still looked calm on the surface. Then Harry saw a portrait of his idol Gold in the house. I couldn't help but comment a few times. But that painting is the professor's wife's favorite work. Harry's sarcastic comments made the professor's wife a little sad. It also made the professor a little angry. So the two of them parted in a bad mood. The human nature and wolf nature in his body began to criticize each other again. The pain of quarrel with him was really unbearable. He decided to end his life tonight. But when facing death, he began to fear again. Harry often does this, often wandering between countless despair and timidity. This time is no exception. The fear of death made him procrastinate himself to continue wandering around. Until late at night, he came to the door of a remote tavern. Harry looked up. I found that the name of the tavern was the Black Eagle. Even though it's late at night, but it's still crowded with people. Soon, Harry met a woman named Hermine. Hermine is like a mirror. She could see her disguise at a glance. He knows. Harry hates the crowd but longs for being loved. Despise the flesh but desire to indulge. On Hermine, Harry also felt the comfort she had never felt before. Hermine will listen. Will understand. Finally, he ordered him. He taught Harry to eat, drink wine, sleep, listen to jazz, even dancing. He asked Harry to try those things he once thought were vulgar. He said, "You haven't even danced. Dare to say that you understand life." He understands. Harry was too rigid before. Just focus on pursuing high-level mental art. All things are difficult and complicated. But he has never learned the simple things. Later, Hermine helped him introduce the dancer Maria and musician Papillo. Gradually, in Mary, Harry has gained a long-lost love again. That's all. Under Hermine's guidance, Harry began to think of the desire he had never dared to admit, and the instinct to indulge. In this kind of life of bright lights and wine, even if Harry wants to read a book, but I can't read a word anymore. Hermine said, for the current simple, comfortable, in terms of a world that is easy to satisfy, your requirements are too high. You have too much desire. So, you were spit out by this world. The reason is that you are too unique. In today's world, if a person wants to live and live a happy life, he can't be like you. People like me. If anyone doesn't plan to play randomly and listen to real music, want to reject low-level entertainment, and to be truly joyful, want to refuse money and have soul, want to refuse to be busy and to do real work, want to refuse to play around and have real passion. So, in this glitz-like world, such people cannot find their hometown. Simply put, it is in this technology and money, the era of war and greed, traditional culture and humanitarian thought have been destroyed. People only advocate technology, material and interests. This is the contradiction of the times. So, like Harry, he is not willing to join the crowd. There is no way out for intellectuals to transform society, destined to be painful. For Hermine, her situation is very similar to Harry. She is a smart girl. She had made extremely high demands on herself. Live like a noble example. She can withstand the bad luck. Can be a queen. Be the mistress of the Revolutionary Party. Or be a genius sister. Or the mother of a martyr. But real life. But she was only allowed to become a kind of socialite with some cultivation. In one sentence, ideals are full. Reality is very skinny. Let's talk about Harry. Her relationship with Hermine is actually very complicated. Hermine told her not to be too idealistic. Learn to enjoy the present. Submissive to life. Even if you release your desire occasionally, it's not a sin. This is to make up for the gap in her wolfish nature. But how to get between the two? Find that delicate balance. It's up to Harry himself. So, Harry on the one hand was like catching a life-saving straw, relying on Hermine. On the one hand, Hermine left her another one. You will kill my prophecy in the end. And this prophecy, it will also be realized in the magic theater. Said it's a magic theater. But in fact, it's more like a spiritual world. The entrance to the magic theater. At a masquerade. As the music sounds, after the enthusiastic people jumped to exhaustion, Hermine also began to leave. Then, this magical soul exploration journey. Tabro told Harry, I know. You often think, I'm tired of the current life. I am particularly eager to leave this era. Leaving this world. Leaving this reality. Go to another reality that you think is more suitable for you. This is actually very simple. Your ideal world. It's actually your own soul world. It exists in your heart. And the magic theater can reveal the ideal world in your heart. But before this there is a prerequisite. That is, Harry must first let go of his original human and wolf personality. Because these personalities dominate him. He was imprisoned. Only by getting rid of the previous personality. Only then can he truly accept himself. Simply put, if you have stereotypes about a person, this time, all you see is his shortcomings. He smiled at you. You will think he is hypocritical. He does good deeds. You will think he has ulterior motives. This time, if you want to find the shining points on the other person, you must forget your negative impression of him first. This principle is not only for people. The same goes for things. So, when Harry gave up his so-called personality, a big mirror appeared in front of me. Under Pablo's guidance, he began to observe himself through the mirror. At the beginning, in the mirror is his familiar image of Harry. But the other party suddenly scattered. In an instant it turned into hundreds of Harry. And among these countless Harry, the same age as him, some are older than him, some Harry even. Already old Lady Longzhong. Besides, there is serious Harry. With lively and fun Harry. There is a relationship between Harry. Harry with a mountain of blue rays. They ran around together. Dissipate in different directions. Finally entered a door. With curiosity, Harry also pushed open one of the doors. Says on the fingertips, come and hunt cars happily. This is a noisy world. It is also a fierce interpersonal battlefield. On one side is the car chasing and crushing the pedestrians. On one side is a man holding a gun shooting at a car. Here, he met his former friend. Under the guidance of friends, he was also hiding on a big tree by the road. Begin to learn to shoot at the driving cars and drivers. Slowly, both of them were immersed in the excitement and pleasure of shooting. Under this pleasure, Harry also felt ridiculous about his opposition to war. They are increasingly unable to see the problems of their behavior and the harm caused to others. Until later, the two saw one drinking. Looks calm. Innocent people. They asked each other, such a person. Can you do it? For a moment, both of them were also aroused. They began to feel ashamed of their previous actions. This world originated from his disgust of modern machine civilization and his own tendency as a perpetrator. Then, Harry came to the next door again. Steppenwolf trainer. And a man is training a wolf in the door. A wolf training program. I saw a strong beast trainer performing on stage. How to make a noble and humble wolf. A surprising series of shows. In this performance, Harry can easily see it. The wolf is trying hard to suppress its nature and follow the command of the beast trainer. Go to perform wonderful acrobatics. But soon, in the next show, the roles of humans and wolves were exchanged. At this time, the wolf also returned to its original animal nature. And the person is lying on the ground. Let the wolf ride on himself, playing the appearance of a domesticated wolf. This also made Harry understand. Turn out to be the wolf and human nature in his body, really fighting each other. Mutual domestication. At the same time, hunting car and Steppenwolf's trainer. These two plots. Let Harry see it. Turns out that my heart. There is also a dark side. When I think of the humanitarianism, go against the war yourself. How stupid and ridiculous it is. As whether it is a beast trainer, general, still a lunatic. The thoughts and scenes planned in their minds, their abominations and ugly things, savage and stupid thoughts. It is also hidden in him. Then, he turned on another chirping. Have a room for any girl. Here. He met the women he had dated in his life. From adolescence to the present. He relives all the beauty of love. With love, have happiness. Confuse. There is pain too. Gradually, Harry also discovered it for the first time. Seems poor on the surface. The Steppenwolf lacking love. Turns out that in life, have so many beautiful loves. They never disappeared. It has been preserved intact in his inner world. No surprises. The last woman to appear was Hermine, but Harry didn't want to meet him here. So the love fairy tale world ended early. Back to the quiet corridor. Harry saw it. The closest door sign to him said how to kill people from love. Seeing these words, Harry suddenly thought of Hermine's prophecy. He ran away in panic. Until the last remaining door is pushed open. However, the scene in front of him made him a little crazy. I saw two naked people lying on the carpet. It was Hermine and Paboro. Then, Harry, full of jealousy, picked up the knife without hesitation. Punched into Hermine's body. The prophecy was fulfilled. Harry fell on his knees after doing all this, staring blankly. At this moment he lost the ability to think. Sudden. The door of the room was opened. Harry's idol Mozart walked in. He turned on the radio and started playing Handel's music. Mozart's actions made Harry a little unacceptable. He can't accept idols. He actually played music on the radio. But Mozart said, times are changing. The same is true for life. We have to let it go. And someone like Harry, no right to criticize radio or life. He must first learn to listen. Learn to take those seriously. Something worth taking seriously. Give up laughing at other things. Then, Mozart began to judge Harry's killing of Hermine again. As a punishment, Harry will die forever. And deprive it of within 12 hours. The right to freely enter the theater. Besides, he will be punished once. He just finished speaking, when everyone present burst into laughter. This laughter is terrible. And it's unbearable. As for immortality, for someone who wants to be free from death, nothing is more tormenting than this. Finally Mozart told him, learn to understand the humor in life. You should be alive. Learn to laugh. Learn to listen to this the radio music of life. Learn to respect the spirit hidden under this music. Learn to be ridiculous in music. Make choices with worthless things. Suddenly, Mozart became Pablo again. He calmly turned Hermine back into a chess piece. Repocket it. Harry realized at this moment. Turns out that everything he has experienced. Just a game. And he used a knife to kill people. To outsiders it seems a bit out of the way. Looking at the hundreds of game pieces in my pocket, he understood a little. He thought, one day I will learn to play this game of life very well. Can learn to laugh. The story is over. Harry did not become a saint in the end. Not going crazy either. But what he got was heavy. He began to understand. In fact, life itself. The person himself. It's a huge pot. A hodgepodge that will never be understood. Confusion. Absurd. Unreasonable. No exception. But the norm. Want to continue to live. Don't think of being a saint. Don't dream of being a free wild wolf. The only way out. Just gritting your teeth. Acknowledge that this is how you live. And what Mozart said to learn to laugh refers to you must have the ability to find some fun in hard days. What he means, not to make you laugh. Instead, let you see life clearly. See your absurdity clearly. Contradiction. After being unreasonable, can still smile.